Ready to dominate at the plate? Blast Baseball is trusted by more major league and college teams than any other hitting solution. The Blast sensor attaches to the knob of any bat, providing real-time feedback with every swing. Go to blastmotion.com and enter code NOWD1 at checkout to save $25. All right, everybody, it's 9 o'clock. Let's get right into it. We do this show every Monday through Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern on Twitter Spaces. I'm Alan Gay, and this is Now D1 Speaks. I am super excited that Brody Gundert is joining us tonight. He's a 24 uncommitted prospect from San Diego, California. Hey, Brody, are you out there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Awesome, man. So happy to talk with you tonight. Hey, why don't you introduce yourself? Maybe include your high school, a travel team if you're playing with one, maybe your GPA, and how'd you get into baseball?
Yeah, well, as you already stated, my name's Brody Gundert, but I graduate in 2024. I got a 4.2 GPA, and I'm not currently playing for a travel ball team, but I go to Christian high school and play for them. Getting into baseball, I think it was mainly because of my grandfather. He played and scouted for the California Angels and really showed me the game once I was old enough.
Man, I love that. So when did your grandfather play with the California Angels?
It was around the 60s when he played with them, and then immediately after, I believe, he started scouting for them for 15 plus years.
Oh, my goodness. I love it. You know what? I'm sitting here thinking, probably show my age, but through the 70s and so forth, while he was scouting, I bet Nolan Ryan was out there.
Yeah, absolutely. He wasn't one to take a look at him. He recruited a couple pitchers, but he mainly focused on middle infielder and infield recruiting more than pitching.
Man, that's really cool. What history right there. So one thing that you mentioned is you're not playing with the travel team. Why did you decide to kind of take the summer off from travel? And maybe what is it that you're focusing on instead?
Right. So as a pitcher, it's kind of hard to play for a travel ball team. Well, one specific travel ball team, and you would only play like once a week or maybe like one game in a tournament. So I feel like in order to market myself to colleges better, I'm focusing more on development with a pitching coach, lifting, conditioning, all of that, and then attending more showcases rather than team-based tournaments.
I think that's smart. I love that. That's a great approach right there, Brody. I really appreciate that. So I was going to ask you, what position do you play? Obviously, you play pitcher. As you're thinking about it, what are your primary strengths? And if there were a couple things or one thing that you really wanted to work on, what would it be?
Yeah, so I would think that my strengths are mechanics and mental approach. You know, those are the two main parts, and then I think that other aspects of my game, like velocity and accuracy, all those other things are kind of enabled by those. But as far as things that I would like to improve on, I feel like I compare myself to other pitchers. You know, I was just at camp at Cal Poly, and there was like when there were people throwing harder than me, it was kind of difficult not to compare myself to them as far as statistics, but it's not a apples to apples, you know?
I do know, absolutely. And everybody's on their own path too. So I can absolutely appreciate that. Speaking of velo, what do you where do you sit? Maybe where do you top out fastball?
I would say that I sit low to mid 80s, and then topping out maybe in like a bullpen session, it would be somewhere around 86, 87 range is where I'm topping out.
Perfect. I love that. What secondaries do you throw?
So a changeup and a slider, but I'd say that my changeup is definitely my primary secondary pitch, which you don't really see a lot of today, but I put a lot of work into it. I'm pretty proud of it.
Awesome. I love that. Hey, to anyone that's listening, thank you so much. We certainly appreciate it. And thank you to those who joined late as well. We record this series, so if you are late, please take a look for when we retweet it, and you'll be able to listen to the show in its entirety. So thank you very much for being here. Tonight we're with Brody Gundert. He is a 24 uncommitted. He's a right-handed pitcher. I'm going to ask you your height and weight. You know what? Before I give it, what is your height and weight?
Uh, yeah, so 6'4", 210 pounds.
Love it. That is awesome. And you're how old?
I'm 16 years old. I'll be 17 in about a week now.
That's perfect. Hey, well, congratulations, man. It's a big deal. Hey, so let me ask you something, Brody. I mean, you're on a great trajectory. You're in a baseball hotbed in Southern California. What is it that you do to really kind of stay motivated to continue to improve upon your skills and maybe just kind of pushing yourself to get better?
Yeah, so as far as motivation, I kind of find it off the field as far as thinking in, like a wider perspective of life. Like, where do I want to be projecting myself within 10 to 20 years, just not even within baseball, but outside of it. So I kind of view baseball as a tool in order to attend like a great university so that I can have like security within like finances and employment, like after I graduate and with minimal debt, things like that, in order to use baseball and my GPA, SAT, etc., to my advantage in order to gain a better life after college, great entry level job, things like that. So day to day basis, I like setting smaller goals that eventually add up to bigger things like adding velocity, adding strength, conditioning, weight. It all adds up.
Absolutely. It's amazing. As far as the skills of baseball, it's inch by inch. There's not this large jump that you're just going to take at one time. I think that's a fantastic approach. Hey, earlier, Brody, you mentioned that your GPA is 4.2, which is obviously an outstanding GPA. Have you already taken the SAT or ACT? And if you have, what were your scores?
So I'll be taking the SAT pretty soon. I'll take it June 3rd, so this Saturday. But I've kind of been studying really hard for that these past 2 weeks, taking a lot of practice tests. So I've got a really good idea of where I'm probably going to land on this SAT, but I think it'll be good.
Okay. Outstanding. I appreciate that. And as you're thinking about school and degrees and so forth, I mean, what are you kind of envisioning for yourself as far as a major?
Yeah, so I'm definitely interested in the engineering field. I'm very interested in math, applied physics, things like that. But as far as majors, I want to go into the engineering field, but I don't know specifically. I think maybe civil or architectural might be where I want to go. And then I'm trying to aim to double major in business as well, or maybe have a minor in business.
I love it. Absolutely. And post degree, obviously, MBA may be a way to go. Hey, outstanding plan, Brody. I absolutely appreciate you kind of thinking long term as well. Hey, thinking back to your baseball career, and really since the time that your grandfather really kind of turned you on to baseball, and I got to imagine you were really, really young when you did that. Have you? And I have to believe you have had some particularly really memorable moments or achievements on the field. Maybe kind of narrow down specifically one achievement or one memorable moment, but more importantly, really, what did you learn from that?
I'd say the biggest moment for me has to have been it wasn't in high school, but during travel ball a little bit before high school, it was throwing a no hitter. It kind of opened my eyes to things that you can't really base who you are on the field with any kind of trait like that. Like greatness is very, very fleeting. You have to be able to be consistent within like discipline, be humble about it. You have to learn humility because you can come out the next outing and then just get absolutely crushed, like 9 earned runs, something crazy, just as much as you can immediately get a no hitter. Like it's a game of failure. You're always experiencing it, but I mean, greatness is determined about how you can overcome that.
Hey, that's so cool. So you threw a no hitter in travel ball. When was that, last year or was it a couple seasons ago? Kind of give us a little history there.
Yeah, I believe it was the summer before my freshman year of high school.
I love it. That's cool. That's awesome. Hey, Anybody that's jumped in, thank you so much. Absolutely appreciate your support. We posted a tweet from Brody. It's in the nest, and the nest for Twitter Spaces. If you just kind of swipe up on this page, you'll be able to see pictures of us as well as any tweets. And the tweet that I put in was a Brody. It just kind of gives you a quick insight as to who he is. You can click it; it'll take you straight to his bio. And if you want to get in touch with him or exchange messages or anything like that, it just gives you quick access to be able to do that. Hey, I think I'm really going to appreciate this answer from you, Brody, I believe. And specifically, as I've kind of listened to you as we kicked off this interview, there's no doubt that you are academically inclined and you're really thinking about your future, and you're putting in the work today so that you can really kind of think about what type of school you want to go to, what kind of major do you want to have, what kind of finances would that look like at the end of your college career, and then setting yourself up really, you know, for a baseball plus a professional career as well. So, with that in mind, how do you really balance academics with your baseball activities as well? Because I know it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort to play baseball. You've got weight training, you've certainly got practices. You've mentioned earlier that you're going to be working with a pitching coach. You're going to be going to showcases. I mean, baseball takes up a lot of activity, but you're also balancing very well your academic requirements. How do you do that?
Yeah, it's certainly a difficult thing. I mean, on top of academics, I was trying to bolster my application for extracurriculars as well. I wanted to seem like a very well-rounded student, so I kind of almost overloaded myself. Like I was a part of the Associated Student Body this year. I was in clubs. I was in Rocket Club. I was in Young Americans for Freedom Club. So there wasn't very much spare time at all. Like there's not a lot of time to mess around. But I like to think I took pretty rigorous classes as well, APs, honors, mostly in order to attain that GPA, obviously. But ultimately, it comes down to discipline and like being able to sit down and do homework for multiple hours. It's not fun. It never is. But I mean, if I can't prove to myself that I can work hard at the high school level in these classes, then I know that I shouldn't even be trying to play baseball and get a degree from these universities that I'm aiming for. I really try to strive for success in both areas of baseball and academics, but it's all about sheer hours, honestly.
Well, it sounds like you're threading that needle, man, and you're doing it. And congratulations. You're very, very well rounded, not only with the courses that you're taking, but as you mentioned, the extracurricular activity too. I mean, that's really very, very impressive. Hey, let me ask you, what is maybe kind of a quick synopsis of what is the Rocket Club and what is Young Americans for Freedom Club?
Yeah, so Rocket Club, it's pretty much a bunch of like the biggest nerds from the school, and so they compete in like this national competition where there's a bunch of like restraints on it. Like you basically have to launch a rocket up into the air. Like there's a bunch of different test sites throughout the U.S., but you basically have to construct a rocket like completely. Like we 3D model it. We do all the equations and everything ourselves before creating it. Like we didn't 3D print it this year, but we built multiple rockets, and there's a bunch of like specific weights and everything, and parachute requirements that you have to have. And we didn't go very far in the national competition this year, but it was still a lot of fun, and it really helps with understanding applied mathematics. And then Young Americans for Freedom Club is basically getting a greater political understanding of the U.S. So most of the meetings were just kind of talking about current events, understanding both sides of the coin in America, and events were kind of they were scattered. One of the biggest ones was during the Senate voting, I believe. We went down to there's this hotel. It's called the U.S. Grant, but it was basically this huge party for voting, and we got to speak to a bunch of people, along with people from the California Senate as well. And it's really eye opening. I'm pretty glad I was in that club this year.
Man, two really unique clubs in the way that they compare to each other. I mean, those two don't have anything to do with each other. I love it. Very, very well rounded. I would love to know. I mean, I don't know anything about the Rocket Club. I'm sitting here just trying to imagine, like, how far did your rocket go? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And is that like the competition, like whoever can shoot their rocket the highest, or But anyway, I don't want to get all into that. But I'm just really kind of hey, I'm kind of dialed into that. I would love to know more about it. Anyway, that's really, really cool. And the political piece, man, I love that too. Especially as you're thinking about campus life as you go forward. And, I mean, gosh, it's just kind of the nature of the beast now with America. Everything is a little bit more politicized. And I give you a lot of credit for getting involved early and kind of opening your eyes and maybe having a base that you can stand upon, maybe a rock or a foundation or something like that kind of sets you up for whatever it is that you may come across in the future. So, Brody, I've just given you a ton of credit. I mean, I think that you are extremely mature. You're very, very well rounded. It looks like you're a great athlete. You got a great physical size. You got a great future in baseball, and you're kind of setting yourself up for a great future professionally because of your mental aptitude. So, hey, nice job, Brody.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, also, hey guys, anybody that's joining again, thank you so much. Absolutely appreciate that. This is Twitter Space. We do this live. I mean, I don't know Brody. I gave him a quick phone call before we got on, but I mean, all this is live. We don't take multiple takes. We don't say, "Hey, I think I messed this up. Can we redo it?" It is just live and sometimes pretty raw. But the really cool thing is we turn this into a podcast, and the podcast is now underscore D1 Speaks. So now D1 Speaks, and it is available in every major platform that's out there. There's tons of college coaches that are really kind of getting dialed into it. They're hearing about it, and I think the really cool thing about this is it gives coaches the opportunity to find out more about uncommitted prospects like Brody. The majority of college coaches are really they're kind of stretched thin for time. Their recruiting budgets are somewhat limited. Doesn't matter if you're Division 1 or JUCO or Division 2, 3, they all are limited. There's only so much time that they can afford to recruiting, and they are inundated with stats and video. But this little forum gives them an opportunity to find out what kind of kid potentially could and come on the field and play for them, and it gives them a little bit of insight as to who they are, or what kind of men they would be off the field as well. And so, as you're sitting here listening to Brody, I know if I'm a college coach, it would just give me such a sense of confidence that I know this young man could come in, he could perform very well on the field. I'm not going to have to worry about him off the field. And that is tremendous for a college coach because it gives them the opportunity to really focus on the job at hand, and that's to win ball games. So I love this forum. Hey, Brody, let me ask you something. Again, kind of thinking back over your career from the grandfather on, are there any particular players or coaches that have really kind of been very influential maybe in your development as a player?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've never had a pitching coach in my life up until about 2 weeks ago, which I'm really grateful for. But my grandfather never pitched, but he understood the fundamentals of throwing very well, just playing middle infield and third base. So, I mean, up through Little League and travel ball, it was kind of just him teaching me all that he knows, and I'll always be grateful for his instruction that he's given me. But apart from that, I was kind of just on my own for pitching mechanics, and I relied on uh, like pro league film. I loved to base a lot of my mechanics, pitches, workouts, routines from pitchers. I'm more old school, so I liked pitchers like Nolan Ryan and Trevor Hoffman. So I kind of just ate up all the film that I could on them. Like I wear Trevor Hoffman's number 51 just to remind myself that I've kind of copied a lot of things from him, and to pay tribute to him. But like I got Nolan Ryan's Pitching Bible. It's a great book that he wrote, but a lot of my workouts that I do on a weekly basis are based off of exactly what he did in order to maintain. But as far as people my age or coaches, I got one of my friends, he doesn't play baseball, but he goes to Vanguard University. His name's Ben Felice, but he's contributed more to my strength development than anyone else, and I'll always be grateful to him because he's my neighbor. He lives close to me, but he always went the extra mile for me. He drove me to basketball practices. We played basketball at like 4:30 a.m. so that we could get there and get working earlier. We would go lift at like 5 a.m. before school almost every day this year. Just he's really helped me along the way, and I'm always grateful for him.
Man, that's really cool. Ben sounds like a great guy. And did he help you with your strength in the sense that he was a lifting partner and he was a guy that you could count on to show up in the morning, almost like an accountability partner, and he really just kind of helped you and pushed you, or was there something else in particular that he was able to help you with in regards to strength development?
Yeah, he was an accountability partner, but he outlifts me and definitely knows more about the world of lifting than I do as far as form and everything. But I mean, as far as strength, like he's just a great guy. He just taught me just a lot of moral things about myself and just how to go about being an athlete.
Man, that's awesome. You got to have people like that in your life, especially contemporaries. If you've got somebody that's a couple years older than you or something like that, that is kind of leading the way, I mean, that just helps so much, not only in your development, but it'll help you in turn when maybe you have the opportunity to help someone younger than you as well. I think that's really cool. And then the Trevor Hoffman piece, I mean, my goodness, you're in San Diego. I guess he's a little bit of a legend in San Diego, I would assume, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's especially like the way that my parents and grandparents talk about him. Like, I just wish I was alive in order to be able to go see him play.
I love it. Yeah, the guy could definitely come in and close a ball game. If you needed a game saved, probably could do worse than calling on Trevor Hoffman. No question about it. Hey, let me ask you something, Brody. As I'm thinking through your day, you've got a busy school day. After school, you got a lot of things going on with clubs and so forth. I mean, you are throwing a lot into your academic piece. So when it's time for baseball, how do you walk out of the classroom and maybe it doesn't matter if you're doing a light workout, you're going to a practice, maybe more importantly, you're walking straight into a game. How do you kind of flip that switch where you put the day to day, the academic piece behind you, and you really start preparing yourself mentally for a baseball game?
Yeah, it's certainly weird when you get out of calculus class and then all of a sudden you're walking with your teammate and you're both going to suit up to play a game against like a league rival. It's weird to flip a switch that quickly, especially when you're still like on your home campus. You still see students and everybody walking around, but like as far as like zeroing in, I like to listen to music a lot, but I kind of make a single playlist at like the beginning of the year, and I kind of only just listen to that as far as on the walk there, getting suited up, just completely zoned in because I get distracted super easily. So, like, if I'm talking to my friend the entire time and I get on the mound, all of a sudden I'm not mentally prepared for it, and I'm kind of all over the place. The other team's getting in my head or whatever. But like from waking up, I focus on the game. What 12, 13 hours away, just like thinking, all right, what do I eat today? No caffeine, no sugar. It makes me super jittery on the mound, like just knowing a lot of things about myself. But I'd say the playlist and very, very tedious parts of like my actual warm up routine as far as plyometrics or bands, like just counting every single rep when I'm throwing, just counting every single throw, making sure that it matters. So that by the time that I get on the mound, I know exactly how my fastball is moving, how everything's moving, how my arm's feeling, how my body's feeling.
Man, I love that, Brody. I mean, you're very, very calculated there. You got a nice routine. You're doing your schoolwork, so forth. You can actually put that behind you because if you weren't doing the things that you needed to do to be successful in the classroom, that would weigh on you so much, not only during the preparation before a game, but during the game as well. So you're knocking that piece out. You don't have to worry about it. You can compartmentalize and say, I've got that piece. Now let me start focusing on the game. And I think the thing that's cool that you've mentioned a couple times about the playlist, I think that I could be wrong. And again, I know we don't know each other, but I almost feel like that playlist is the piece that just kind of gives you peace because you're walking through all the others. You're doing the bands, you're throwing, you're feeling your body, but you're not even really having to think about it. Instead, you're just listening to the songs, the playlist that you put together at the beginning of the year. And that's kind of the thing that's just keeping your routine moving along. I love that. I think you got a great routine. It's very, very professional. Hey, anybody that's on that's listening to this maybe for the first time, if you're an uncommitted high school prospect, you could be graduating 23, 24, 25, or if you're a JUCO or a transfer and you just want to get a little bit more exposure, please reach out to me. I would love to talk to you about scheduling. I will tell you that we're booked through at least mid-June, probably getting into late June, but that's okay. I mean, we're going to continue to do this. We'll do it straight through the summer. So just reach out to me. I am now underscore D1. Just send me a DM on Twitter and we'll just figure it out from there. So Brody, you are, this summer in many ways is kind of a big deal. I love your approach that you're working on your physicality, you're working on the mental piece, you're going to show up for the showcases and you'll work through that. I think in many ways that's really super smart. I know that ultimately you want to play baseball at the next level. To be able to play baseball, you need to really be recruited. So could you just kind of give us a sense of maybe where you are in the recruiting process, whether it's you're just starting to reach out or maybe coaches are just starting to reach out to you, or maybe you're just looking for more exposure. And then, maybe at the end of that, kind of just give us a sense of what's a good fit for you. And what I mean by that is ultimately, do you want to stay in California? Do you want to stay in Southern California? Are you looking for a larger school, maybe a smaller school, private school? Just kind of a general sense, if you could just think of an ideal situation for yourself, what would it be?
Yeah, going into your first point about the recruiting process, I'd say that at this point I'm starting to settle in. Not as many things are new to me. I got the great opportunity to go and visit NYU. I had a great time over there and with the coaches and got to talk to a lot of players and tour the facilities and everything. But I really loved the school up there. As far as location and everything, I would say that staying in California doesn't matter very much to me. The only way that California is important to me is just in-state tuition, that just flat out. But I really going to the East Coast. I honestly would say that I prefer East Coast schools because like when I try to get a feel for these places, I feel like envisioning myself there. East Coast, I can feel myself working a lot harder. It's a harder working environment. Like California, especially Southern California, everything's a lot more laid back. It's slower. It feels really easy to get lackadaisical. Like just kind of settle into complacency. But I feel like over on the East Coast, you're always working hard at anything. But as far as where I am, sorry, I went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but like where I am in the recruiting process, I'd say that I'm reaching out to more coaches now that I have the plan for my summer as far as what showcases I'm attending. I'm getting back positive feedback. Coaches are starting to reply to me, and it's not limited by division or school size. I've got it from all kinds of different places, like from Johns Hopkins or MIT to Columbia. I got the opportunity to go to Columbia's practice. I really loved the coach up there. I really love Columbia's program. That would be a great school, and I would really love to go there. But high academic schools are definitely ones that I'm targeting. Schools that, again, would offer security post grad, so that if an employer is seeing that university's name on my application, would they think, oh, that's not a very important school to us, or okay, that's a very important school. We should look at this kid. Just different things based off of that. But as far as what I want in college for those 4 years, I would say that I don't care about very many things at all. I don't care about campus life, Greek life, yada yada yada. Or division or competition level. Like I could be just as fine with junior college as Division 1. It just matters about academics and especially scholarship and financial allowances because I don't. My family makes too much money for need based to kick in, but not enough in order to send me to college. And I don't really want to graduate with 100K plus debt wherever I'm going.
Hey, I can so appreciate that. And I think so many families that are listening can appreciate that. And on this show, I've often, just as a quick aside, I've often talked about my own son who went through the recruiting process as well. I'm in Florida. I'm in Orlando, Florida. He ended up being recruited by Florida Gulf Coast University down in Fort Myers. And I can absolutely appreciate what you're talking about with the needs based. I mean, there's so many families that are out there that are just kind of right in this situation where it's like, wait a minute, we're not going to be able to qualify for financial aid, but we're going to need some kind of assistance here. So I can absolutely appreciate what you're saying 100%. And what great schools that you're talking about. And Columbia's got a fantastic, obviously it's a fantastic academic school, but it's got a great baseball program as well. In fact, one of the guys that my son played with, Western Ellerby, I mean, he's a catcher. He was on the Buster Posey, catcher. They say, hey, there's X number of players that were thinking of maybe some of the best catchers across the country, and he was one of them right there at Columbia. I mean, Columbia's, people think, oh my goodness, you just want to go to an Ivy League school. Well, no, that's big time baseball as well. So you're talking about some great schools that are out there, no question about it. I was going to say, if you can make a pitch for yourself, but I think you've done it through all these questions. I mean, but I'm sitting here thinking, if you could just kind of maybe in just one short sentence, if there was a coach, why would they take hey, what is it about Brody that would make it a slam dunk for you to go to whatever school? How would you kind of phrase that and say, hey, coach, this is why you should take a chance on me?
Honestly, I would say humble and hungry. I really don't like to be arrogant in whatever I do. I kind of just like to let my game speak for itself. But I'm always hungry. I've always wanted to go to these great academic universities. Since from freshman year, I've always been building this cumulative GPA in order to get to these places, but I'm always willing to work as hard as possible in order to get to those places. Like, I'm not going to get in college and then all of a sudden just stop as far as velocity development, pitch development, body development. It'll only progress exponentially from there, especially with whatever resources that university has. But I mean, success in the field and in the classroom is kind of just an absolute must for me. And I'm not going to go shove it in anybody's face. I'm not going to go acting like I'm better than the coach or any of my teammates. I'm on the same level as them and I'm under my coaches.
Humble and hungry. I love that. That's a good pitch. That's a very, very good pitch. Hey, let's end it maybe with you kind of passing it forward or so, paying it forward. Thinking about some of the younger guys, some kids that are coming up now who are just so baseball focused, and they're dreaming of, I don't know, they're going to be in the Hall of Fame, right? They're 10, 11, 12 years old. If you had an opportunity to really talk to a 12-year-old that is serious about baseball, what kind of advice would you give him?
Yeah, so off of my previous point, I would say the best tool that you could possibly have to succeed is humility, like being coachable. Once you acknowledge that you don't know everything, you have a lot to learn, the quicker you'll progress. It's crazy. I was playing basketball my freshman year, and one of my coaches, he recommended me a book. It's called Mindset by Carol Dweck, anyways, but it completely changed my outlook on both sports and academics. It talked about having a growth mindset in anything that you do and being able to gain anything from it. The only loss that you could ever possibly have is making a mistake or failing and not learning from it and moving on. But like things like that, little things like that. Like whenever I complain about anything to my dad, he saw this Navy SEAL quote like a bunch of years ago, and now he just continues to use it. I'll give him this whole explanation on why I'm upset and complaining, and then he'll just say full benefit, and it means, yeah, no matter what happened or what's going to happen, you're going to turn this into good. Like Navy SEALs use it whenever anything bad happens, and a lot of stuff goes bad in the Navy SEALs, obviously. But I mean, it's a game of failure. The only way that you're going to succeed is growing and minimizing failure, especially mentally, using that to your benefit. You should have certainly a long-term goal and make smaller portions that are more quickly attainable to achieve it. So obviously, like 10, 11, 12, I was thinking, obviously, like huge. I was thinking, oh, I want to go to the MLB. I want to pitch 100 miles an hour. That's great, but it's so hard when you sit down and say, all right, I'm going to do this, and then you don't know where to start at all. It's great to get a tiny stepping stone, one at a time, and I'm all about just making portions of it, but being controlled with it. Setting attainable goals.
Man, that's great advice. Full benefit, humble and hungry. I love that. That's a couple things that you kind of threw out there. I got to tell you, Brody, man, I have really enjoyed this evening. I am so impressed with you. I think you've got a fantastic future ahead of you. You've got great support around you. I love the comment that you're talking about with your dad. I mean, you've got some serious people in your life that have afforded you an opportunity, and you've taken full advantage of it. And that just speaks volumes to you. I'm really excited for you. I think you've got a tremendous future. I love this time of year, somebody that's about to go into their senior year. You've kind of got a lot of choices that are right here, and you're going to have some work to kind of narrow it down as to what is the best fit for you. And what an advantage. There's not a lot of kids out there that can really kind of start looking at what's going to work for me. But the reason you can do that is you've got some physical gifts. There's no question about that. But you put in a lot of work, you know, and there's no reason for you to slow down and kind of pat yourself on the back and say, hey, look what I did. And I don't think you'll do that in a second. But I hope you appreciate really the work that you put in. I can only imagine your parents are absolutely proud of the young man that you're becoming. You know what I mean? And I think you've got a tremendous future. I hope that I'll be able to stay in touch with you somehow or be able to watch it somewhere because I think you're going to do some pretty, really, really cool things. I hope you've had a good time tonight. I certainly have. I think that it was a great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for having me on this podcast. It really means a lot. I think this is really going to be a helpful tool to further my recruiting journey.
I hope so too. I really absolutely do. I will tell you tomorrow night, anybody that's kind of tuning in, I hope you will come back tomorrow. We've got Luke Carter. Luke is a 24 uncommitted. He's out of the state of Georgia, and we'll be doing this tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Again, this will be on a podcast. I hope that you guys will tune in and subscribe to Now D1 Speaks. It's really cool. The Monday through Thursday thing is all dedicated to uncommitted or JUCO uncommitted or transfers. And then on Fridays, we kind of mix it up a little bit. We had Jeremy Booth on a couple of weeks ago. We had Roger Wilkinson on last week. This week, we've got Coach O'Neill. He's out of Voorhees over in Denmark, South Carolina. So we kind of mix it up on Fridays. And the cool thing about the Friday piece is they're talking almost specifically to uncommitted, and kind of giving the other side, whether they're a coach or someone that's already had a career and they're looking back and saying, hey, these are a couple of things that are kind of important. You know what I mean? So it's a kind of a cool series that we're putting together. So just as hey, to me, I hope that you'll subscribe to it. You'll like it. Give us a big 5-star rating. And this show will just kind of continue to grow. Brody, man, I really appreciate it. I am very super excited for your future. Enjoy tonight more than you can imagine. Really cool to meet people like you that have got your act together. Everybody, we'll just kind of end it right here. And thank you for tuning in. So good night. Hey, let me ask you something. Are you ready to dominate at the plate this season? Blast Baseball is the #1 hitting improvement solution, trusted by more major league, college, and travel ball teams than any other. The Blast sensor attaches to the knob of any bat, providing real-time feedback with every swing. Metrics are automatically sent to a smartphone app, generating insights that allow you to analyze and improve your hitting like never before. Go to blastmotion.com and enter code NOWD1 and you will save $25 at checkout. Unlock your potential with Blast.